Hello and welcome to the Global Gunslinger League. Today I'm going to be taking you through the very first steps of building plastic miniatures. And for the Enlightened, I've picked the Strider-Cav model. Okay, so I'm going to be going through how to build an Enlightened Strider-Cav. But before I get into the build itself, there are a few tools you're going to need. At the very least, you're going to need something to take the parts off the sprue. So a pair of cutters, nips, snips, side cutters, flush cutters. You'll hear them given lots of different names, but really it's just something to take the pieces off. You can also use a knife for the same purpose. So a craft knife, box cutter, that sort of thing. Make sure you use a new blade and replace the blades regularly if you're going to use a knife. A dull blade will do more damage than a sharp blade. Once you have them off the sprue, you're also going to need something to clean them up. I will often use the knife itself. Some companies make things called seam scrapers or mold line removers. Here's two examples. They're just a metal edge that can be used to scrape away the additional bits. Or you can use a set of files. So these are needle files. You'll sometimes hear them called jeweler's files as well. A worthwhile investment. It's probably my go-to when I'm cleaning stuff. But if you don't have files to hand, you can also use sandpaper. Or if you visit a chemist or a makeup shop, you can get these little nail files or nail sanding sticks. And they're just a very fine grade sandpaper on some cardboard, and they do an excellent job for cleanup as well. So once you have the parts cleaned, we're going to be gluing them. You can use super glue, but I don't recommend it. These are polystyrene kits, so polystyrene cement is the way to go. Sometimes you'll see it called plastic glue, and it can be a variety of companies and makes. The two I favour is either Revel Professional, which has got a needle point applicator so you don't splodge a load of glue on, or Tamiya extra thin polystyrene cement. Essentially it's the same thing in both. It's a very thin version of it. This comes with a little brush applicator, which is handy. Super glue will work, but if these are your first kits, you run the risk of gluing something in the wrong place or gluing yourself to the model. So there's a bit more drying time with the plastic glue, and it gives you a better bond when it's glued. So taking a quick look at the sprue, the reason I've picked this for the Enlightened is the characters can only be assembled in one way. You just need to follow the guide. If you're not used to plastic kits, this one has actually options on it. A few of the components are used for both, but then it can either make a mono-cav or Strider-Cav. So the first thing we're going to do is start at the first part, which is 1 and 2, and we're going to be removing the main body. And again, just go in with a pair of snips. If you can get them flush to the model, great. If you can't get them tight to it, it's better coming a little further away and then cleaning down. You can always remove excess plastic that you don't need, but if you chop something off that you do, putting it back on is harder. And then our second half. Once you have them removed, you're going to need to clean up any of these excess pieces of plastic. So, like I say, I favour the knife, and it's just a case of slowly trimming those away. If you're not comfortable using a knife, then by all means something like one of the files is ideal. So you just find a piece like the rear of this and then file it off. I'll often see people filing back and forward. You shouldn't. Files are made to file in one direction, so just slowly file away from yourself until you've removed the excess plastic that you don't need. And likewise, if you're going to use one of the little sanding sticks, it's exactly the same. You just sand it away as if you would with a piece of sandpaper. But these just have a little firmness to them, so you can get that down. So I'm just going to go around and clean off all of these pieces now that I don't need. Once your pieces are all free of flash, just get your glue and then run a seam of glue around the edges to be glued together. If you're using a thicker glue, you'll be able to put it on one side. For the thin glue, put it on both sides. Some will evaporate away. And just line them up. And push them together. And it's as simple as that. So while that bit is drying, I'm just going to take our next piece off. So going to our sprue, the next piece is actually the torso and one of the 3 head options for our pilot. And again, get in as close as you can with the sprue. For our head, I'll go for this Doc Brown looking gentleman here. When it comes to cleaning up this part, it's worth pointing out this is actually a locking lug to connect the body to the top, so don't remove or file that off. It's always worth having a dry fit of any pieces before you glue them, but also have a dry fit to make sure that you know what parts need to go on where, and that you're not going to accidentally cut something off you might need. So with the body off, apply some glue to there. And to our torso. Pop them in facing front. And then glue the head on. There we have our pilot in position. We can get on to the final assembly pieces, which are the legs, and then there's also a front drill and a piece of cowling that protects the pilot to some extent. So I'm just going to take off the cowling and our front drill, and I'm going to clean and glue those first, and then they should be dry by the time I get the legs ready. Now for this piece, there's a little ridge line of rivets running along the top. It also flares slightly towards the top, so just make sure you don't glue it upside down, which is easily done. I'm just going to run some glue around the front and on the underneath. And line up that central bit of detail. So that's on. Bit of glue there. And then on the front drill plate. And we're just about ready for the legs. Okay, So the legs look the same but are not the same. There are two ways of doing this. You can glue them on one at a time, only taking the leg off you need, or you can take them off and lay them out in the order they're to be assembled. So here's our little cavalry pod. The back leg here is number 11, which is this corner. So that will be my back leg. 12 is the front leg for that side. $13 for the front on the opposite side. And 14 for the rear. So we'll just clean those up one at a time and then glue them all on. And the only thing left after that will be our two little mandibles that fit onto the front drill plate. It shouldn't matter how you glue the legs on, but you do want to still be able to fit them on the relevant base. So keep an eye out for that, or even have the base handy. So while that's drying, I will get the mandibles and clean those. A bit more poly cement. And pop these in. And that is our Strider-Cav built. I wouldn't glue them straight to the base until I've got some base work done on it. So whatever way I'm going to base it, sand, that sort of thing. Although you can if you want, but then you have to try and get in below it when it comes to adding your basing material. There we have our little Strider-Cav. Likewise, as I was saying, you can build the mono-cav. So the same components are there at the start, but the only alternative is the single large mono wheel, and the guns go on in place of the individual spider legs. Okay, so that is the Enlightened Strider-Cav. So there we have it, easy to build. It's the most complicated for all of the Enlightened in the Showdown at Retribution. So once you've got that out of your way, the rest should be plain sailing. Check back in and we'll have painting videos for you very soon. Good luck.
Join the Global Gunslinger League and track your progress in the OnTableTop project system for your chance to win one of 2 Wild West Exodus bundles. See the link in the description for more details.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.